Gentlemen, please feel free to listen in or give a call to your girlfriend, that woman that means a lot to you, to tune in right now because today is not just a normal show where we get to encourage or give you some information that would inspire you. Today you have the opportunity to win 5 books, okay? And if you love, I mean, it's just a few weeks away from Valentine's period, and that this is more like prepping you for that special someone or for that special date, to give your mind that background that okay, this is what you're to be expecting, and this is what you're not supposed to be expecting, so you don't get your hopes dashed out of the window. Yes, let me not waste any further time. I have with me a beautiful writer. I think if you read one of her works, then you would know what I'm talking about. I stumbled upon her work on the internet, and I thought when I saw her name, I was like, oh, Mine Whitman. This is interesting. I need to get Mine Whitman on my show to come talk about her love for writing and talk about the writing and reading culture in Nigeria, especially as regards the woman, and that's exactly why she's here. Good afternoon, Mine Whitman.
Good afternoon, Zoe. Thanks for having
me. You're welcome. I'm sure people were expecting to hear some accents from you, especially with your name being Mine Whitman.
Okay.
Sorry to bust your bubble, ladies and gentlemen. She's a Nigerian, okay? I'm going to let her talk about herself. Let me not, say everything about her. Let her be the one to bring us into her world. Hi, and who are you? What do you do?
I am. Many people know me as Mine Whitman online, especially. My real name is Nkem Akinsoto Ni Okocha. I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. Did my first degree here in Nigeria before I moved to the United Kingdom for my master's degree.
Okay.
And I've been away since then, almost 10 years now. My accent hasn't changed.
Surprisingly.
I love my Nigerian accent.
Some of us go 6 months and it changes. Go ahead.
I love my Nigerian accent. So I currently live in the United States, Seattle to be exact, with my husband. And I've been in Nigeria for the past couple of months, promoting a few things that I'm doing related to my career as a writer and author. I want to become a publisher as well. I come from a family of 5. I have 1 brother and 3 sisters. My parents are from Asaba and they currently live there now. I haven't really lived in Lagos. I've really been learning to live in Lagos for the past couple of months.
Okay, let me break you there. I'm sure you've gotten this question most times. Like people ask you, why Mine Whitman? Is it that is there something wrong with you answering in chem? Is there something you're running away from? Like you're some identity thief you are? What is it with Mine Whitman? Is it a name that maybe you fell in love with, or your parents it's part of your baptismal name, or how did you come about that name?
It's actually from my name, which is Nkem Okocha. Nkem Okocha is an Igbo name, and when you translate that into English, Nkem means mine, and Okocha means white man. So I just jazzed it up. Like, if there's anything I was running away from, it was using my real name, which was supposed to be for my alternative career. I have a master's degree in public health research, and my first degree is in biological sciences. So you can see that
2 worlds apart.
They're very different worlds. I wanted to create a persona for the writing, which was supposed to be a career, but now it's kind of taking over because I became like very popular through it, and I said I don't want to give this up, so I want to continue.
So would you rather people refer to you as the writer Mine Whitman or Mrs. Nkem Okocha?
Officially, you call me Mrs. I'm not Mrs. Okocha. I'm Mrs. Akinsoto.
Oh, Miss. All right.
Yeah. Nkem Okocha was my name.
Yes.
Call me Mrs. Akinsoto officially, but yeah, the writer Mine Whitman. Though since I've been back in Nigeria, and since I decided that why not make writing my career, so there's no need for those 2 personalities anymore. So I'm going with Nkem Akinsoto. Yes.
Okay, but on your books, it's Mine Whitman.
Yes.
Okay.
But going forward in Nigeria,
you're going to revert to it. Oh, great. Okay, so why writing? How did you come about writing? you're in the science field, the health field. I mean, that's just like a lawyer becoming a doctor. I'm sorry, it's a
I
great
think
divide for
writing
me.
is one of those talents that it's not determined by what educational channel you take up. I've always been writing. No, I wouldn't say since I was a baby, but since I was probably like 10 years old, I've always wanted to write one thing or the other. I started by writing children's stories, children's adventures, and then I moved into writing poetry and then romance. So I've always written, and even my pen name was coined way back when I was still a teenager. So I was good in sciences, and I mean, most people know Nigerian parents will always say, if you're good in sciences, those are, that's what you should do.
Okay. So how did you why romance? I mean, we're not the very romantic, the best of romantics in Nigeria. So why did you tilt to that direction? Why didn't you stay with the children?
No, I think I grew writing children's stories, and maybe now that I'm an adult, and I might go back to writing for children. But as a teenager, which was when I started writing romance, I was a romantic.
Okay.
I loved romance.
Okay.
I read a lot of News and books,
Uh-huh.
and romantic movies, and I just fell in love with, love. And it's been, it's been like that. I'm an optimistic person anyway, outside of romance, and I see that optimism in romance, which is believing in love. And I think it's something that our society can do more of, because you hear a lot of people getting into relationships, and those relationships are not good for them.
But how do you know something's not good for you?
When you have to leave that relationship because you're hurting. Yeah, there are a lot of issues of domestic violence, sexual violence against women, and I think it starts from when you don't love yourself enough to know what's good for you. And I think that's one thing that romantic fiction does very well. It's targeted at women, and that's for a reason. The romantic fiction I've read, they kind of help women to find out who they are, to grow as people, to know themselves, so that they recognize what will be suitable for them in a man. And I'm thinking most of us want to get married. We want to find someone, even if we don't get married, who loves us and who we can love. So, there's one of the movies I've seen, I think it's Marlene Rouge, and one of the lines is like, the greatest thing you can ever find in this world is love. And I agree. So, yeah, that's why I write romance.
You also seem to tilt to the era of forgiveness. I mean, has any of this happened to you? I mean, is there any personal experience that actually birthed this whole love for romance, this love for forgiveness, the need for forgiveness in relationships? Why that? Because, I mean, I think I've flipped through a few of your books, and forgiveness is quite key. It's an undertone. It's a loud tone. It's not undertone. It's actually a loud tone when reading your books.
I think it's probably more in the second book, which was one of the major themes in the second book. In the first book, I would say I wanted to explore premarital sex. I wanted to explore classism in relationships. I wanted to explore, finding yourself. But yes, I think it's a total package for me. Romance is not just flowers and candy. It's about some morals that I think you need in yourself, even as you go into a relationship.
Morals?
Yes. So I think forgiveness is one of those things. Because love, someone asked me, what does love mean to me? And I said, I'm a Christian, and my definition of love, first of all, comes from the Bible, which I've been reading since I was a baby. So, and you read 1 Corinthians, and you find out that, love forgives, love endures, love this, love that. And so when I write a romance, when I write a book, I try to look at a couple having issues, and what kind of issues they're having is a way for people who are reading to understand this is how you might go through issues, and this is how you might solve those issues.
So it's not like necessarily you've had experiences based on...
Not really. When I was, I didn't start dating till late, and maybe that's why I started writing dating romance because I wanted to imagine what it would be like if I did start dating. I was a serious student, so I didn't want to be distracted. So instead of having boyfriends and stuff, I was writing or relation or someone go through this. And even outside of romance, you watch how people interact.
Okay.
And you see, okay, what's the problem here? Why are these two people not getting along?
And speaking of survey, which authors have influenced you so far?
I would say the major influence has been Danielle Steele. I love her books. So she doesn't write core romance, and that's what I hope to write, more like romantic fiction, so that it's something that tackles real situations, real issues that people experience. So yeah, I love, and Nora Roberts as well.
We still love Nora Roberts.
Yeah, she's a great writer.
Okay.
More recently, I've begun to enjoy the works by Karen Kingsbury and Frances Rivers as well.
They don't sound familiar to me. I mean, that's not my field. But if you were to do a survey, a case study on Nigerian women and reading culture and probably the whole how romantic we are, who would you say does better from the man to the woman, and who faults the most?
Nigeria is
by weekend we should be in February.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the month of love.
Valentine's
There's this
love.
whole the atmosphere changes. I mean, really, you start to feel love. If you don't have love, you start to scurry for love somehow. You know, so nobody wants to be single in February. It's actually a painful sight when you go to the mall and then everyone's coupled up and just Zoe single. I'm just saying.
Are you single?
My name is still Zoe, so that makes me single. But really, what do you think what would you say is the problem of Nigerian women? I mean, there are lots of more single ladies than that of the men being single. Would you say it's our problem not knowing our identity? Like you said, it's all about finding yourself in most of your books, and that's where you decide to start from. What would you say is the problem? Does it basically start with us, or it has something to do with the men?
I would say it has more to do with the society. Nigeria is a kind of it's deeply patriarchal, so it favors the men more than the women. And in that sense, men sometimes feel they don't have to do anything, and women have to do everything about the relationship. I don't think women have to do everything, but women have their own role to play as well. But I do feel that to be in a relationship that's really healthy for you, because that's where I come from. It's not just about ending up hooking up with anyone, but it's about hooking up with the right person for you, somebody who will be healthy, who will help you grow. So you do have to know yourself first. I was single for a lot of Valentines, so, and I don't think that's a big issue. I think, it doesn't matter. Love can come in various forms. Show yourself love on Valentine's. Show your friends, show yourself, show your family love. And when the right person comes at the right time, you will even enjoy Valentine's even more.
Okay, so what do you plan to do with your degree in
Public health research.
Public health research?
Well, the good thing about degrees is that they never
exactly.
What I might need to do is to brush up my skills if I want to.
So do you
go
see
back
yourself
to that.
practicing? Do you see yourself
Not in the next
10
years, or if ever, because when I was younger, the vision then was that I would practice in public health, and then writing would be a side gig.
Most times this side gig
yeah,
become the main
but
gig.
life has happened, and I find myself doing the side gig full time and enjoying it so much that I want to continue doing it full time forever. So yes, the dream is that now I'll be able to write full time for as long as possible.
Tell us about your recent works. How many books do you have to date?
I have 2 books, and I'm working on 2 more. Hopefully one should be out this year. My first book was A Heart to Mend. It was published in 2009, December 2009. Then the second book, A Love Rekindled, came out in March of 2011. So A Heart to Mend is about Gladys and Edward. And Edward is rich guy.
Mm.
Gladys is Johnny just come to Lagos and she's looking for a job. She's from a very humble background and they meet and they fall in love, but they still have to deal with the fact that this guy is like a CEO of a billionaire industry and she's just nobody. So they have to deal with that. And there are so many other things happening in the book as well. A Love Rekindled is about Ife and Kewe. They meet in university and they fall in love and everything is going well, but they're from different tribes. She is the Shekiru and he is Udu.
Okay.
And this was around the time in
When
around
they had
2000 when they had a lot of stress
tribal,
conflict between those two tribes.
I was actually in the south then.
Okay, so you might know that Warri was on
It
fire.
was on fire,
at
madam.
that point. So I tried to inculcate that history just a little bit into the story to make it as realistic as possible. There were actually, a lot of issues that they faced, but that's the fiction. You have to find out how they were able to, go through.
Well, it's a good thing that you have 4 books, or five books actually to give away today. So, ladies, this is your chance to read something that would inspire you and keep you in check for Valentine's Day. We don't always, love is a beautiful thing. We all want to share, have our piece of the cake called love. When we come back from the business news break, I'll be asking you your take. I've asked you on your take on the Nigerian and relationship, but now let's talk about love in itself as an embodiment. When we come back, Lagos, stay with us.